We want to know because we talk a lot about the new Ford Ranger versus everybody loves the Maverick. So, should we wait for Maverick or should we go with a Ranger?
That's a big question for a lot of people because wait times are long at Ford. Some people believe, that it's completely deliberate and Ford's only mostly making high trimmed F-150s. That's not the case. Ford is making thousands of Mavericks per month. But it is an important question that needs to be answered. Do you wait for this gorgeous truck? It looks good. It drives well. We'll let Marie talk about her experience because you waited a year and a half. So can you tell us, help give us an idea. Is the Maverick worth waiting for? What is your, your
Yes,
fuel economy, your experiences with the vehicle? Are you liking it? What are you disliking?
Yeah, now that it's more hot outside here with the spring, I have a great economy. So normally the distance I make to work, more than the half of the kilometers to go to work, it's on electric mode. So maybe I put $75 to fill my tank, and I could have 1 month and a half on it, so it doesn't cost that much.
All right. Well, you definitely will use more fuel on the new Ford Ranger because the new Ford Ranger is going to have very similar fuel economy to the current Ford Ranger. Why? Because it's coming with the same 10-speed transmission across all the engine options. You've got the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 Raptor engine producing wild amounts of power, or you can have the traditional 2.3 liter as the standard engine. So that's the 2.3 liter inline 4-cylinder with turbo. That's traditionally made, I believe, off the top of my head, 275 horsepower, low 300s for the HP. It's, the same as the Bronco engine. It's a good engine. It's a reliable engine, and it's, matted to that 10-speed Ford transmission, originally made with GM, but they each have their own programming. Ford now, they're no longer on the first generation of the 10-speed. It goes well. You will like it. But you can also have an optional, here it is, folks, 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo. And that's fantastic news because, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I don't recall them off the top of my head, but you can look it up. All the information's out in the Ranger videos that I've covered. But it's about 400 pound-feet of torque and about 330 horsepower that you're going to get. So actually I found it right here. You've got the 2.7 liter V6 engine. It should be making 315 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. Ford Performance will be offering, because remember the Bronco has a Ford Performance chip, so getting an extra 40 horsepower out of this and about 50 to 60 pound-feet of torque is not only possible, it's got to happen. We've got it for the 2.7 off the F-150. We've got it for the 2.7 liter off the Bronco. Ford Performance will be offering something for this, and that is going to be exciting. But here's the, talking about fuel economy, we've experienced the 2.7 liter. I've played around with the 2.3 liter. The 2.3 liter in real world conditions, you're going to get about 10.5 to 12.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, if anyone has their cell phone in front of them, you can just type that up and ask for the conversion from Google. You just put in, let's say, 11 liters per 100 kilometers in miles per gallon. And actually, I'll get Marie on this task for us this evening. So if you just want to Google up that question and see what we get there. So 10.5 liters per 100 kilometers in miles per gallon, coming right up for you folks. But the 2.7 liter makes this Ranger fantastic, and that means you can be getting about 22 miles per gallon. So you're going to be looking at about 19 to 22 miles per gallon out of the Ranger with the 2.3 liter. Now our Broncos, higher up, wider, actually took more fuel than in the F-150 because a lot of my F-150 people that I know that run a 2.7 liter are getting about 20 to 22 miles per gallon, even in the F-150 when they're really careful. They can also be getting about, 16 to 18 miles per gallon for sure. So roughly, depending who's driving and where they're driving, It's going to, on the 2.7 liter, they're getting about 11 to 14 liters per 100
Driving
kilometers.
is very important.
Yes, we learned that while we were in Florida, didn't we? So 14 liters per 100 kilometers and miles per gallon. What do you get? 16 US miles per gallon. So I wasn't 16.8. I wasn't that far off in saying about 16. So for fuel economy, a Maverick, I think we can say it's worth waiting for. And you're telling me that you're getting a lot better fuel economy now that it's warmer. Do you want to tell us why?
Yeah, because I guess it's more when we are around the freezing point. Is it the good word in English?
That's a good word. Go for it.
So around that and below, it starts with the fuel. So when it's more hotter, it starts electric at the beginning. So I guess I'm searching the word. It wants to start more on electric mode, so it will help you during the rest of the travel.
Yeah. So the Maverick is worth waiting for when you consider long-term how much you're going to save in fuel economy. And it's also worth it so far, we can tell, in resale value, because your Maverick is worth on trade. If you sell it yourself, it's worth about $10,000 more than what we paid. And even on trade, it's going to be worth about $5,000, $5,000 to $7,000. If we would have paid window, we could probably, on trade with low kilometers, get $3,000 to $5,000 more for it. Now you got your price protected. So you got price protected. You got a huge rebate from Ford for your weight. Meaning right now, if you're to sell it yourself, $10,000 more or about $5,000 to $7,000 extra on trade, extra than what you paid. So fantastic resale, folks.
Yeah, totally. And GM Genoa asked that kind of question tonight. He wanted to know if a used Maverick will hold up for a trade for a new Maverick. So I guess it's always depend on the price that you paid before, if you have a price protected, when you will trade it. Right now, it's a good time. Maybe in 3 months, won't be that much a good time. We never know. And how much above the MSRP they will sell you the new one.
I have a very good idea what trade values are going to be in 3 months, but it's going to vary from model to model. And on the Maverick, the Maverick will still be relatively rare and limited, especially if it's a hybrid, so trade values will still be good. But trade values, folks, are going down, but we'll save that, and they're going down. They're going to go down considerably. We're going to save that for later on in the show.
Outsider reviews adds it depends on the mileage that you put on your car too.
That's well.
Another good point.
Mind you, I just evaluated last Friday an EcoBoost FX4 with 4K, and that thing now after 1 year has 56,000 kilometers on it, so roughly 35,000 miles, and we're going to pay that $4,000 less than what the individual paid for it. And that's on trade, meaning they could sell it for the price they paid. They could sell their Maverick for the price they paid, even though they put on about a fifth of the total usage that the vehicle is going to give in its lifetime. So I think that is very impressive, folks. So resale, Maverick's a huge winner, but the Ranger, will it have great resale? Well, that's going to depend on demand, and we'll have more of a definitive answer once we start selling these. And really when the order bank opens for the Ranger on May 26th, if we get swamped with orders, then yes, it will have incredible resale. If we don't get swamped with orders, well, then we can know that it's probably going to be a model that has pretty good resale. Now, do remember the Ford Ranger recently got named basically the best mid-sized truck you can buy in regards to reliability, but reliability more so in the terms of cost of ownership. The important one, not how many times you go to the dealer because, the manufacturer is giving you a recall because they want everything to go perfectly, but it has great, very low cost of ownership, making it, basically in regards to what comes out of your wallet. What comes out of your wallet, if you look at reliability in that sense, it's the most reliable in its category. We can easily say, no matter how you spin the data, it's one of the most reliable. It's sturdy. It's got various panels that are made of aluminum, so you're not gonna just lose out $5,000 to $7,000 after 5 years because there's a bit of rust everywhere, and the truck needs to get repainted. So I do suspect that the new Ranger, the current Ranger, even with its a bit of an outdated interior, a bit of outdated technology, still has a very good resale already. So the new model looking amazing. It's a mix between the F-150 and the current Maverick, which we see in the background here. Photos provided by our good friend Dwayne from Driven Wild Outdoors.
That's a lot of Maverick there.
That's a lot of Maverick. So he spotted that. So that's a fleet order, and that's a whole lot of XLs that have come in. So for those that say that the Maverick's not getting built because Ford is leaving behind the consumer by focusing on, making next to no Mavericks and just making a ton of upper trim F-150s, that's not the case, folks. A lot of XLs have been made. It's generally from month to month. It's playing from recollection around 15% of the overall production. And the Bronco, folks, the Bronco, we all know that there have been a ton of Big Bend model Broncos made and a ton of Outer Banks. Heck, Ford is suggesting that you switch your high trimmed Wild Track to a Big Bend or an Outer Banks. Ford is suggesting it. So how's Ford leaving consumers behind when they're recommending that you take a model that makes less profit for them? Just facts. So tell us more about your Maverick. Tell us more about your Maverick experience.
Just before the Maverick, I drove the F-150. And now I really enjoy parking my Maverick because it's easier. We can go everywhere with that. So because it's smaller, I guess it's better for me. But now that I see the Ranger, I didn't love the look of the front of the Ranger before. So now that it looks like a Maverick, maybe it's good in between. The Maverick, sometimes I found it a little bit smaller inside. I would prefer maybe the biggest inside of the Ranger, and it probably still easy to park anyway more than the F-150. So it's a good in between. I don't know.
For people who have baby
maybe
seats,
someday I will have a Ranger.
Ranger baby seats in the Ranger will definitely work out a whole lot better than in the Maverick. Or if you've got big dogs, the Ranger, or if you just have big buddies, whether they're human buddies or dog buddies, the Ranger gets a win on that for space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I really enjoy my Maverick. I still love the Area 51 color.
Handling, you've loved the handling.
The handling
in the
too.
Bendies, you're loving it. It's very stable. It's a stout truck. And power-wise.
And the power is all good in electric mode too, where I never lose power.
I have beaten around with the EcoBoost, and the EcoBoost is very powerful. Remember, it is lighter than the Ranger. The Ranger plays in at about 4,400 pounds, the Maverick in at 3,600 pounds. So when you look at that EcoBoost engine with roughly 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque, but weighing in 800 pounds less than this guy right here, it's a ball to drive. And this with the 2.3 liter is pretty good, and it's actually going to be top of its class, because now you're going to be seeing the new Tacoma. I'm sure it's coming along with just 4-cylinder turbo option. The Tacoma, the Canyon, Colorado, they've gotten rid of their diesel option. Big mistake on their part, so they're running a 4-cylinder as well. So the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, it's going to match across all the mid-size trucks, but with an optional 2.7 liter V6 6-cylinder twin turbo. This thing is going to be king of the hill, boss at the sand pit. This is the big boss right here. 400 pound-feet of torque, and it's not, you don't have to buy the Raptor to get crazy power. So if you like power and if you like heavy towing, 7,500 pounds, this is the truck for you. So this beats out the Maverick on towing. It beats out the Maverick on power, but not by much, because that EcoBoost engine is fantastic. So, price though. The Maverick's a big winner when it comes to price. Ford has not left consumers behind when we talk about price, because they are building Mavericks. And who else is building a truck? What other manufacturer has decided to take sales away from their own existing mid-size and regular size truck segment? Who else has decided to, undercut themselves with an entry-level, price-wise these days, an entry-level truck option? Heck, this thing comes in, less expensive than a Honda Civic. better fuel economy than a Honda Civic. So Ford, if anything, they've done the opposite of leaving their consumers behind. They're doing something that no one really else is doing. They did cut out the small vehicles, which were inexpensive, but this allows them to have new projects like the Maverick, the Bronco Sport, the big Bronco. These are all vehicles we like, folks, a whole lot more than the Ford Fiesta and Ford Focus. I don't see any YouTube channels dedicated really to Ford Focus talk or
True.
everything Ford Focus or Ford Fiesta. That is true. Thank you for the support.
And we don't see that much of them on the road too. So.
And maybe they're there. We just don't want to see them. We're not looking because they're not exciting like the Maverick or the Ford Ranger.
Yeah, we're looking at the big ones.
Big ones, but the Maverick comes in at a small price.
Yeah.
Now, mid-sized trucks, they've all gone up. So yes, this is a more expensive option. So I'd say when it comes to price, the Maverick is a winner, but this is a huge winner in its segment because Ford is not bleeding you out to Raptor price, so like 60 US or 80,000 Canadian. If you want power, you don't have to go to that extreme. You can get it on the XLT. And you can get a base XLT with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost, throw on some fancy mags, some big old tires, give it a little 2-inch lift, swap out the exhaust, and now you've got a mean arse-kicking machine, that's going to be king of the sandpit. Heck, you could even throw on a little program on that and an air intake, and you're going to feel like you've got that 80,000 or Canadian or 60,000 US Raptor. You won't quite have the look, and that's why this is going to be a huge winner if we can throw the Tremor package on an XLT as we currently can with the 23. I hope we get it in the first year, but maybe Ford will save that for a little, 1-2 combo, 1-2-3 combo to knock out the competition when excitement, there's always more excitement when a new model gets unveiled. Well, into the second or third year when a bit of excitement comes down, maybe that's going to be their 1-2-3 knockout combo against the competition. They'll bring back the Tremor. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll get it right up, or maybe they're going to save the Wild Track for later on. Mm-hmm. So handling wise, I'd say they both get excellent points. I suspect this is going to get excellent points handling wise. I found the current Ranger to ride just a little rough, but it did hold quite well in the corners. Now with the wider and longer wheelbase, with the more stout and strong, fully boxed in frame, and the new suspension, the suspension in the back is finally moving. The shocks are moving to the outside of the frame, like the F-150. So the suspension is not underneath the frame or even, inside the frame, like some manufacturers of trucks that are kind of real wobbly in the corners. That's because the suspension is either underneath the frame or inside the frame. Well, this is outside the frame, and it's going to be I'm very convinced it's going to be more comfortable, better handling in the corners. You're going to love how this handles. And, I told you all early on that the Maverick was worth waiting for because it's great in the bendies, and we've experienced that, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what else would you like to talk about in regards to the Maverick? You find the sound system, what would you rate the sound system out of 10?
It's good for the price of the car. For sure, it's not like the sound system in the Lightning, but it's not the same price. But yeah, overall, it's pretty good, and I love all the compartment that I could put stuff in between the two front seats. So even if it's small, we have a lot of space to put stuff in it. So I love that pretty much. Yeah, no,
Marie said it really well. The sound system is great for the price, but when you compare it to the Lightning, which is 4 times the price, you paid $33, I paid $110. You give the Maverick a 5 because the Lightning sound system is a good 9.5 with the Bang & Olufsen sound system. There's not much they could improve on. It is a fantastic sound system, and I can't really imagine it being better. In the Maverick, you can definitely imagine it being better. Many have, and many have swapped it out. So I'd rather, pay $33,000 and put in, $300 worth of aftermarket speakers in than to pay $110 So that's a bit of a little
But it
point
does the
here.
job. You don't have to change it.
This is definitely
If
a
you're not
winner when it
picky.
comes to towing. If you want to tow, get this, folks. And if you want to tow, don't get a Lightning, as many people are finding out. And that's why there's a few new Lightnings starting to be on yards available for sale. So does that round out the topics you want to cover for your
and
Maverick?
just because we compare a lot the Maverick and the Ranger, do you know what's the difference about the I'm searching the word. The interior is bigger in the Ranger. Do you know how much?
Well,
No.
the vehicle's a little wider. It's a couple inches wider, so I'm expecting the interior to be just a little bit better, but
And
we're
maybe
going to
more
have to get our hands on
Space in
for
the
that.
back seat too, because in the Maverick you don't have that much space.
Oh,
for
the Ranger
backseat.
definitely has more backseat space. As I said earlier, this is better for carrying around baby seats than the Ford Maverick. So that is definitely something to consider for anyone that has a young family, or, you know, even if your kids are 6 years old and you just don't like being kicked, you have the back of your seat kicked. Go with the Ranger, but the current Ranger to the current Maverick, there is very little difference. So they're actually, it's very surprising. The Maverick has a huge interior space footprint. Now, the interior, technology-wise, of the Ranger, the new Ranger, is a 10 out of 10. In your Maverick, I'm sorry, I've got to say it, the price is great, but the interior gets, I'd probably say, about a 6. It looks great. It's won awards for being, you know, beautiful and functional, even though it's made, you know, mostly of recycled plastics, a whole lot of plastics everywhere. Now, the Ranger, the new Ranger interior, has a much more posh interior. You get this huge screen like you do in an F-150 Lightning. Behind the steering wheel, you also have a huge screen available.
Wow.
So you're definitely getting a better, much better interior in the Ranger. Let's try to get a little photo here. So you've got the screen there. You are getting a much better interior out of the Ranger, but
Wow.
you know, price-wise, these are quite a bit more expensive. Even the current model comes in a good $10,000 more than the Maverick, and these are going up by about $3,000. So they'll be about $13,000 more than current Maverick pricing. And GM Genoa made a really great point. It'll be nice if the Maverick actually gets Sync 4. This gets Sync 4, but right now, unless you're getting a Lariat luxury package, you're not even getting Sync 3 out of your Maverick. It's Sync 0. There is no Sync. So in regards to technology, the Maverick, I'd probably give it, it's not much of a pass mark. It's functional, so it's a 5, whereas this is a 10. Right now, in regards to the competition and its category, it's an absolute winner. Now, it's hard to rate the Maverick because it doesn't have really any competition. Even the Santa Cruz is several $1,000s more expensive. So it's hard to compare the two. Santa Cruz does have better interior technology. It does have a nicer, more posh interior, but it's also several $1,000s more. So while I can say the Maverick technology inside, the usable technology, is a 5, well, without it having really any competition, without any other manufacturers willing to sacrifice sales from their other models to a budget truck, because it has no competition, we can also give the Ford Maverick tech a 10. There is room for improvement, but because they don't have any competition, they don't really have a reason to improve. But it's Ford. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw Sync 3 or 4 in as a mid-model refresh. In worst case scenario, we'll have to wait for, Gen 2 of the Ford Maverick.
Good.
So that does cover our Ford Ranger versus Ford Maverick topic. I'd say there's a lot of reasons to wait for your Maverick, and there are a few good reasons to switch your Maverick order, or just order a Ranger and see which one comes in, because let's talk wait times on various models. So a little 1.5 episode here. Wait times at Ford. What can you expect? Well, if you order a new Ranger and you're very early on that May 26th list, you will get one probably within 2 to 3 months. Now, Ford Maverick, if you're looking at an EcoBoost, you're looking at an EcoBoost Maverick for most people is going to play between 6 to 10 months, sometimes less and sometimes more. A Ford Maverick Hybrid, you're probably looking at about a year and a half. There's not a whole lot of change getting into that. And actually it's now starting to even, I'd say, almost be tempted to say a year if you're really lucky and 2 years if you're really unlucky. Just like the Bronco, you can be waiting. Heck, in our case, we'll have waited 3 months for our Bronco, but there are cases where you'll wait 2 years for a Bronco. So you need to ask the dealer that, over the phone, ask them, how many people are in line in front of you? Porsche was very honest with me today, and you need to do business with honest people. Reward honest people. I had a client shop the Toyota Camry. One dealership said 3 months. Another dealership said 1 year. Well, the dealership that said 3 months was lying, and now it's been a year, and they probably have about another 6 months to go. But instead, they're just going to go back to the original dealership that told the truth, sold less orders, have less of a wait line, and they're still at a year. So they say, you know what, forget the dealer that originally said 3 months, and when it was a year and a half, I'll go to the dealer that said a year. I'll start the whole process over. They will wait a year instead of waiting the remaining 6 months with, dealer liar pants on fire. But they're going to reward the right people. Reward honest people. Watch YouTube videos from honest people that tell you the real deal. Not that they just try to steal your attention and bull crap the whole way through.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Ridgeview, for the support, saying Johnny is right about the hybrid Maverick. I figure mine wouldn't be built for at least a year from now. Yeah, at least a year. Ask the dealer, how many would you roughly get, per month or per year, and then they'll tell you a number and say, okay, well, how many do you already have in line? And actually probably reverse the order of those questions. So write those down, bring those questions in with you. Now, continuing wait times. We've covered the Bronco and F-150. Avoid the opening roof. Watch Tim Bart's Long MacArthur show tomorrow as he goes step by step on what to not throw in an order. Order from a dealer that doesn't have much of a wait list. And, my local dealer, an F-150, you order that up and you avoid the Tremor 402 and you avoid the opening roof, and you're getting an F-150 within 2 months, maybe 3 months if you're unlucky. And, who knows how long if you order an F-150 with the roof or you order a Tremor 402. So that's the wait time in an F-150. And the F-150, we'll talk about this a little bit, but models that are very good, are known to be good, but are sitting around in yards and have inventory are really great buys right now. Especially the F-150 is a fantastic buy very soon because the new model is going to be announced pretty soon. So the 2024 F-150 is a whole new beast. It's a whole new remodel, meaning you're going to see some crazy good price rebates, or rebates in the form of very low interest rates or 0%, or, pretty normal interest rate, but with a very, very nice rebate. Like right now, huge deals going down on Ford this week. F-150, $4,000 to $4,750 off. Ford Edge, 2023, $4,500 off. Check out the model at Ford that interests you and go check out that Build and Price website, because this is a big price rebate week at Ford. It'd be a good time to get a vehicle, especially if you have a trade that's worth a good amount. Trades are still worth about 23% more than they should be. And I'm going to talk about price predictions, but I predict that within the next 3 to 6 months, used vehicles, trade prices, are going to go down by 10 to 20%. And I also predict when you shop a used vehicle, it's also going to be down 10 to 20% in 3 to 6 months. So we'll talk about that more, but pretty easy to say that I think you should buy, if you're shopping a used vehicle, buy it in 3 to 6 months. But if you're looking at a new vehicle now, buy now, like on Ford's big rebate. And with these big rebates, what you can do that's actually very interesting is buy now with the big rebate, but with interest. Yeah, we know interest is a little high right now, but if it drops in a year or two, switch it out. You had a big rebate, your amount owing is less, switch it out for one of these vehicles that will then have low interest come 1 to 2 years if it occurs.
That's a good point.
So I've covered all the big models, the Ranger, The F-150, you can't order a 2022 Ranger right now. You cannot order a 23 Mustang. You have to find one on a lot, and interest rates are low on the Ford Mustang right now, the 23. So that's a good example. You know, we could say there's a deal on it because the interest is low when you consider that a lot of manufacturers are asking 8.99% for a new vehicle. So if you pick up a Mustang at about 3% for a 23, that's a great deal. And why is the interest rate at that percentage? Well, it's at that percentage simply because the new model has been announced. So when a new model gets announced, you'll have inventory of the current model. Make sure it's a reliable model. The Mustang is. Make sure it's a model that has good resale because it has a good reputation for reliability, which is the case of the Mustang. And you can get yourself a good deal now, even though pretty much the whole internet, YouTube is saying that, you know, don't buy a vehicle right now, the prices are awful. But you know, that's a great thumbnail to draw attention, but that's the case when you look just at the new vehicle. And forget that people have trades that are worth 23% more. So yeah, you got to look at the whole picture. And when you look at the whole picture, certain people should absolutely be buying now, and certain people should not be buying now. If you have basically no trade or a worthless trade and you're looking for a used vehicle, yeah, I'd suggest buying in 3 to 6 months. If you've got a trade that's worth quite a bit, you know, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, trade now. It's worth 23% more than it probably will be in 3 to 6 months, and you can still get a good deal on a new vehicle. New prices have actually been going down because rebates. It's not that the MSRP has been going down. You can say, Johnny, you're wrong. MSRPs haven't moved at all. Yeah, they haven't moved. They haven't gone up, but we're now seeing rebates. Like on the F-150, like on the Ford Edge, you know, rebates that are playing around $4,000 to $5,000 for a 23, not a 22 that's sitting around.